It is better to fail in originality than to succeed in imitation.
People ask me, who is Andrew at his core? And that's a very complicated question for anybody, but particularly for somebody as complex as Andrew. And I keep telling people there's three Andrews. There's the Andrew that actually lived and breathed and walked around this earth, who I will never have access to and we will never really know. There's the person that you get from Maureen's book, and that's a collection of a lot of secondhand accounts of people that knew him. And then you have the Andrew that exists on the page for these scripts by Tom Smith in a world created and curated by Ryan Murphy. And that's kind of my guiding light. As an actor, that's sort of my master and commander that I have to follow. So if I had to make up what I think people said in this situation, there are moments where I go, I don't know if he would have said this, who knows? But it doesn't matter, it's my job to make that work and to make those moments seem accessible to not only a viewer but the people in our story. It's tough, we'll never know what happens. And my fear is that I hope people don't watch this thinking, oh yes, this is an expose of what really happened. We truly don't know. And it's not so much about that and more about exploring these emotional journeys of somebody like Andrew that were very much influenced around things that did actually happen, the social landscape around him, his sort of tragic upbringing. These are all things that are facts, and so I think these are the things that can kind of inform these sort of nebulous emotional arcs I keep talking about. And I think that's probably the closest we can get to fact, is by honoring those things around him. I was starting to read the book on which the show is based, Vulgar Favors, which is by Marie North, who was an investigative journalist for Vanity Fair, and was covering the story while it was happening, even before Johnny was killed, which is even crazier. I was reading up on a lot of things, and I had to stop myself because I thought, if we don't actually end up making this is not a headspace that I want to be in. These are images and concepts that I just don't want swimming around my brain, despite my own curiosity. So I did put a bookmark on it, so to speak. And it wasn't until like I said, 3 years later, about a year ago, where we said we're going to do it, that I dived right in, and then we made the show. But what's so cool, so we have this sort of dichotomy of we parallel these two men who are brilliant in their own right, and are very gifted and are sort of visionaries in their own way. And on the one hand, you think, oh, how could you possibly compare somebody like Andrew to Johnny? But you have these likable, driven people. But like you said, one ultimately succeeds and the other one doesn't. So what makes that happen? The polarity that we like discussing this show, and we have an episode called Creator Destroyers. You have the ultimate creator and the ultimate destroyer. They're fighting the same obstacles. These are both gay men who are afraid of or fighting against a society that is pretty much built against their true nature. You have the same stakes, the same cards stacked against them. It's really heartbreaking to see how someone tries to get through it the wrong way. And that's what really separates them. One who was willing to work for it and to use his gifts to create, as opposed to using his gifts to destroy.